In space, no one can hear you scream. It's showtime, folks. Alien Romulus is the new release from Fede Alvarez, and you know what, guys, going into this movie, I'll be honest with you, I am not the biggest Alien fan, and I kind of just got lost when it comes to the Alien franchise as a whole. You know, once they did the whole Alien 3 thing, you know, they just honestly kind of lost me. And I've never been in a rush really to return to the franchise. I mean, I've seen most of the movies up to Romulus, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, I'm not the biggest Alien fan. I don't dislike the movies. It's just one of those things where I'm not the biggest fan. But going into Romulus, I was actually pretty excited because it looked like it was going to be a return of form to something that, you know, I was familiar with and that I enjoyed about the franchise as a whole. You know, going back to the xenomorph, going back to the isolation feel of, you know, the challenges of fighting a xenomorph. And it was something that I looked forward to when I saw the trailer. So getting into the pros of this movie, guys, the performances were solid. Now, we primarily follow Rain and Andy within this group of people that are trying to escape their planet because they want a better life. You know, it's one of those things where their home planet just keeps moving the goalposts as far as trying to allow them to leave the planet. So these two characters are, like I said, Rain, who is a human, and Andy, who is her brother, but he is still, you know, one of those cyborg of sorts, for those who are not Alien fans, who she is adopted as his brother, and his main directive is to keep her safe. It's the last directive that Rain's father gave him. So we're following these two characters, and at first, you know, Andy is kind of just a damaged cyborg. There's something about him that's off, but we see this kind of like chemistry of brother and sister that goes on throughout the movie, and the performances there are really well done. I believed it. I believed in the care for one another. And then there's a turning point where Andy is no longer this kind of childlike cyborg. He is given more intelligence. He's given the intelligence of a cyborg that has come before him, and his emotion as far as being the caretaker to Rain, you see that change to shift to his new directive, which I won't spoil, but it is a very impressive performance, and it was something that I did enjoy of the movie. The second pro I have for this movie is the return to form, you know, the isolation feel. Like, there are portions of this movie where you definitely feel the threat of the xenomorph again, and it's something that I think has been missing in, you know, certain Alien franchise films. And I get it, we're trying to do something new with the property and stuff like that, but whenever we see the trailer and they're saying that there's going to be a return to form, I was actually really excited to see what they were going to do with this isolation feel of being stuck on a ship with the xenomorph, and that is something that they did very well. Another pro I have for this movie is a commentary that they have. There's like this subliminal commentary that's kind of always been there with at least the early Alien movies, and it kind of like translates to now, and it was way ahead of its time then. But there's this commentary on AI, you know, so you have one character that is, you know, a protagonist who is good AI, you know, it's like, oh, this is what we can see, positives to the use of AI, and then you see the argument of, oh no, this is why this is bad, because AI doesn't do this, AI doesn't do that. So it was kind of interesting to see, you know, that subliminal kind of conversation that was being had within the film about the use of AI, and I thought that was clever. Thought it was used well, and it wasn't, you know, you weren't hit over the top of the head with it, but I thought that little kind of quiet conversation that was going on there was very well done. So that is a pro of this movie. Another pro I have for this film are the callbacks. Now, if you're an Alien fan, you're gonna know exactly what I mean when you see them. There's a couple of things they throw in there from, you know, previous franchise moments that really stand out when you're watching Romulus. Now, is it kind of, you know, hitting the nostalgia receptors in your brain? Absolutely. And, you know, everybody's a sucker for some nostalgia feel. But what I think Romulus does well is that they kind of like wink at the camera to people, you know, about, you know, reminding them that they know where they're coming from. They're trying to do that return to form feel, and the callbacks and the cameos and things of that nature all really play into the enjoyment of the movie. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily gonna boost the movie to new heights, because they are definitely using old tropes and old, you know, iconic movie moments to make people, you know, excited about what they've got going on. And it works, you know what I mean? Even in the trailer, there's a portion where you can see that they're trying to recreate the iconic frame of Ripley with the alien, you know, just kind of like being repulsed by it. And you know what? It was fun, and I enjoyed that, seeing the parallels and seeing the cameos and seeing, you know, all these things that have come from Aliens movies before. It worked for this movie. And my last pro is legitimate, just the last 30 minutes. The last 30 minutes of this movie completely throw you for a loop. Now, I'm not gonna spoil what it is, and I'm sure it's all over the internet now, but the thing about these alien movies is you see these isolated, you know, groups, especially our final girl, Rain. You see her go through all this trouble, but then the last 30 minutes is just insanity. The character design of what comes and what the, you know, not only the xenomorphs, but what comes later, that's a slight spoiler. I don't even know how to, guys, it was just intense. It was kind of like edge of your seat, like, wow, they really went there. This is pretty revolting, is a good way of putting it. It's pretty intense, and it was something that was done pretty well. And that's something I do have to say is a pro of this movie. Now, getting into some of the cons of this film, I did find that one of the cameos is gonna be pretty divisive. There is a cameo in this movie from a previous, you know, movie in the franchise that I don't know if it was too necessary. Now, my pros say that the cameos were good. I personally kind of smiled when I saw it because I knew what it was from, but I don't know if lifelong Alien fans are gonna be as welcoming to that cameo. You know, I don't know if it's gonna be as necessary to them as the plot, you know, made it. I don't know how I feel in the long run about it. I definitely do know that I didn't like the way it was designed, like the de-aging and the, you know, some of the CGI on him wasn't done well, at least in my opinion. But that had to be a little bit of a con, just because it did stand out and it took away from the movie, at least from my point of view. My second con is, and I'm sure this is gonna be something that's gonna rifle some feathers or something like that, but our character, our final girl, she had some major, and I mean major plot armor. Like, it was distractingly bad plot armor. Like, there's a point in this film where our protagonist is in a spacesuit, and it is clearly like her mask is getting broken, and for some reason, just a miracle, that thing doesn't shatter. Like, it's breaking, it's completely broken, it's shattered. There's other portions of this movie where she just kind of, I don't know, guys. I don't know. There's only a certain level of disbelief I'm gonna be able to, you know, pretend to have when it comes to plot armor. And there was a couple of times where I'm just like, okay, I guess. Oh, okay, I guess. And then it just gets to the point where I'm just like, okay, I believe in plot armor, I get it. We need to have it, but damn, this girl, nothing's gonna happen to her. And so it takes away from me thinking there's any kind of stakes, even though I know, you know, these are new characters, we don't know if they make it or not. But I was just, okay, there's way too much here. So that's a con for me. Another con I did have in this film is, although they do the xenomorph well and they give you that kind of isolation feel that I've been talking about, there's a portion in this movie where they actually just make the xenomorph just way too weak. Like, it comes down to, like, you know, we've seen how hard Ripley had to fight to, like, survive against one xenomorph, that when you start seeing them weaken the other xenomorph just for the convenience of our new protagonist to survive, I was a little disappointed. I for one want to have that same strength level in a xenomorph that we know existed, and I know they give her, and it's in the trailer, they give her one of those, you know, space marine rifles and stuff like that, but I don't know, man. These xenomorphs were like super powerful. It takes like a bunch of predators to fight it, and now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna easily just kind of get rid of these xenomorphs, and I don't know. It just took away from the feel for me. Don't come at me. Don't at me. It's just my opinion. But yeah, that was a con for me. Ultimately, guys, what did I think of Alien Romulus? Now, Alien Romulus was definitely go watch in the theater experience for me. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of at the edge of my seat. The sound design was very good. It was one of those things where you're like, okay, this is intense. I'm excited to see what happens next. I really enjoyed it for what it is, but I don't think it's welcoming for somebody who's not an Alien fan. You know, if you're not an Alien fan already, you're not gonna really catch the callbacks that would elevate this movie. It is kind of just like a movie in its own right. Like, it kind of exists in a vacuum because you don't necessarily need to know all the Alien lore to be enjoying this movie, but it helps, you know what I mean? So Alien Romulus for me gets a 3.5 out of 5. If you're an Alien fan, it is a 4 out of 5, but for good old Chuko here, it's a 3.5 out of 5. Ask yourself if you feel lucky. You have to ask yourself if you feel lucky with this movie, because if you're not already an Alien fan, this isn't really exactly gonna draw you in. And if you are an Alien fan, this doesn't exactly reinvent the wheel. It is more of a return to form, something that you're gonna enjoy, and something that I enjoyed. And there's nothing wrong with that. I really do think it's one of the summer blockbusters that we're gonna get this year, and I think it is definite go check out at the movie theaters. But what did you guys think of Alien Romulus? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Disagree with what I'm saying? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new to this channel, I'd really appreciate if you like and share this video, or if you want to hear more from good old Chuko, I'd appreciate if you subscribe. I definitely enjoy engaging with everybody and talking about movies. But guys, if you're ever lost in space, always remember something my friend Ripley used to tell me, and that's